Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. This week we have a very special guest. She is a motivator and coach, a very deep thinker. She has helped dozens of CEOs and startup entrepreneurs build a successful business. She is the host of Life Up Education TV, author of the Game of Self Domination, Natsune Okai. How you doing?
Hi, Dylan. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. So where are you joining us from today? Just let the listeners know.
Yeah, I'm based in Tokyo right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
And then
Are
you
where? Are you in the States, right?
yeah, I'm in the
Thing?
States. Yeah.
Where are you? Where about?
Columbus, Ohio right now.
Oh, okay. Nice,
Yep.
nice.
Yeah, we just relocated about a year ago.
Oh.
I've kind of been all over the States, but for the
Mm.
most part.
Do you like it there, though?
I'm originally from Ohio.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I kind of like the coast. I kind of like the I like it out west in the western side of the United States, and I really
Mm,
enjoy like being on the coast near the ocean.
mm. Nice.
That's kind of where my heart is, I think. But
No, I totally understand. Yeah.
and I know you had studied over in the States, right?
Yeah, I was in Washington actually for quite some time.
Like in the Pacific Northwest, Washington.
Yeah, I was in Washington State. I was in
Uh-huh.
Seattle. Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you like that? How was that?
I really liked it actually. I studied my business and economics degree over there.
Uh-huh.
I went there right after my high school graduation and basically built my life up, right? which basically why I end up with the name of the show that I have, which is Life Up Education TV. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was like my very first journey I had, being in like individual like journey. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess maybe we could talk a little bit about let's talk about a little bit about your What's Up Life TV. What is Life Up TV?
Yeah, so the show I have is called the Life Up Education TV, and I'm a host, as introduced. And this show is mean to deliver a message about possibility of humanity, because that's the big theme that I'm inspired by. Whenever I think about possibility of us as a species, as humanity, I get really excited. So I decided to make a show where I talk about that, but in a perspective of arts and science of success and arts and science of high achievers. So I want to know the art aspect of what does it mean to pursue a dream. And then I also want to know the science perspective of it, to really encourage people and show people how strong and capable we are as a humanity.
A lot of times I like to start at the beginning and just try to get a feel for my guests, and just kind of see where you came from and how this journey began for you and how this manifested. So let me ask you, how did you kind of get started in this? What is some of your background and where did this come from?
Yeah, so right now I have the Life Up Education TV, and within the same domain, as you mentioned, I'm also an author. I wrote a book called The Game of Self Domination, which talks about um, how to create change in life, but also be how to navigate through the changes, like mentally and mindset wise. So that's my book within the same domain, Life Up Education TV. And I also have a business in Tokyo. It's called 40 Connect, where I help Japanese businesses to enter American market or foreign market in general by connecting them with local services and partners. So that's my current status. But to your point, my journey really started, as I mentioned, at the time I graduated from high school. And I actually very briefly mentioned this, but I was almost kicked out high school student in Japan because I wasn't doing very well in this education system in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a very first journey I decided to take, being courageous in life. At that time, I didn't necessarily have that intention to want to be courageous, but at that time, it was more like I just wanted to make sure that I'm not going to regret in my life.
Hmm.
So, you know, that very point, I decided to just move away from my very country, which I felt kind of somewhat uncomfortable being a part of, and just, broke my shell and just go out. And the first place I settled down was Washington State. And of course, as you can probably imagine, like there was a lot of, um, I guess, hard things that you had to overcome for you to just move from one country to another without the language capability, without any friends, no family, no nothing, right?
I think
Like,
it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of determination to stick with that, right?
yeah, yeah. So in terms of like perseverance, though, like at that time, surprisingly, it wasn't very hard. But that was like the first time I really tasted what it was to have the change in life. And then, of course, yeah, like you said, like it took a lot of courageous out of me. And I think in general, that move really made me bold for the rest of the journey I was going to go through. So what happened was I finished my degree in business and economics, but within that, I also took another courageous decision when I was still student, which was, as an international student, it's very regular, it's very normal, common to find that you would just finish the entire thing, at once, and then you're just gonna be done with it. But for me, I just really wanted to see the world outside of school and in the country America, right? And at the time, I was already like pretty into entrepreneurship, and then I was already very much integrated in the culture and the community of startup culture. So what I did was, actually, I decided to take some time off from my school, and I um, started working with lots of bunch of entrepreneurs and innovators and
Hmm.
next generation thinkers. And that time really changed my mind about how I want to go about my list of my education, because I noticed, as I was interacting with a lot of, this brilliant people, I saw that they were such a macro thinker. They would think about our advancing humanity. Like, they they were not very money driven. Like, they were thinking about the impact in people. They were thinking about how the technology is able to take us to the next level, like, as us as a humanity, right? And I was so inspired by that.
Right.
So at the time, I decided to pursue economics more than business, and noticed that actually it was a perfect study field, because I care about people and feeling more than monetary, like, measure of success. And I mean, definitely you do need both elements in order for us to move forward, right? Like, we need a competition in order for us to, like, keep moving
Right.
forward. But I just saw the beauty of, um, so to speak, being more generalist than being like a business specialist. So I decided to pursue economics, with also study of business. And then after I finished my degree, basically I took another courageous decision. So the third time courageous decision, which was to move from one side of the country, which was Washington State, to completely opposite side of the country, which was Florida, Miami, right?
Oh, wow.
And it was like such a change. But
Yeah.
I think subconsciously I was searching for that. I was searching for that once again, this like super like challenge, right? Like, during these two times that I deferred earlier, about the changes, I was growing, like I was challenged. And then I felt that. I felt like those were the times I really expanded. Like, my capability was truly tested. But at the same time, I found the great joy in that experience. And
Mhm.
I for sure saw how much capable I became through that experiences expansion, right? So I was very hungry for that, because I was getting so bored at life in Washington. I knew everyone, and I pretty much dominated, right? Like, everything. So I thought, let me just move somewhere else in this country. Like, let's start over again. So, I just followed my instinct once again, and I moved to Florida. And there, oh my God, it was like hardest, like hardest shit ever. Like, like at one point I was so unstable, and I basically, it didn't make a lot of sense to some people, I guess, because, from one place to another, for first of all, and I had no connection whatsoever once again. And it just doesn't make any sense for you to make this change. So, there was this certain degree of pressure as well for you to like not fail and want to succeed in that environment. And then at the same time, like, shit was hard. I mean, I was a foreigner and my language is like somewhat okay, but it's not the native, and my competitive advantage against all the Americans are like super low. So no one wanted to hire me basically. And at some point it got so bad that I would have to move from one place to another in just a matter of a week. Like, it's so crazy. Um,
That's
and
tough.
then and then I was like, holy shit, like, fuck, like, look at me, like, I'm such a loser. And then once again, like, those were the times I kept listening to like a positive, I wouldn't say affirmation, but like a mindset training program I used at the time. And every day, just I just made sure that I wasn't going to give up. That's the only thing I could make sure. So finally I found something, and oh my God, that place was shit. Like, that place was shit ever. And then I finally found, oh, sorry, did I stop you there?
It's all right. You're good.
Sorry, is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I finally found something with this super emotionally unstable Italian dude. He has this like a company in Miami, and so I started working for him. But he was like, like, he wasn't well, like, he wasn't doing well as an entrepreneur. He had such an extremely low level of emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
So anytime any hard things would hit him, like, he would just like freak out, just go crazy. He would curse at me, he would yell at me, he would just threw the object in front of me, like stuff like that. And he would just hard ass people like in there. And especially me, because I was soft Japanese, young, respectful individual. I mean, brought up from Japanese society, that just like came natural to me, right? So that really ended up suffering me a lot by having that characteristic, having to work in the environment where you have a different power dynamic in the work environment with people from different country who has authority over you, right? Like, it's a completely different kind of
Right.
experience. So I was not well because of that, and I knew I had to do something better. So I was finally able to find something else, and actually through that, my life basically went from zero to like super awesome. I mean, not to say that like every day is like that, because I never I never describe success as a one destination. Rather, I explain success as a theme of life, and then the flow of life. So what happened from then is that I actually, at that time, I was able to meet my mentor. I was able to meet a lot of inspirational people um, that taught me a lot in business and management. And then I was still working with the company, but then I kind of came back to Tokyo after that, and then I was still working with the same company, but at the same time I always felt like I was wasting my most active years of my life. So I wanted to really play with my own idea. um, so I did the super deep digging inside of me, and then really started asking really deep question of what I wanted, and in which basically came down to some of the parts of
Mhm.
what I put down on my book, but the importance of self-awareness. And then what I came about was, I guess, one of the few idea I came about. The first one was starting my own clothing business. So I did that. And then at the same time, I still had that ongoing thing happening with the current company where I was selling their services, right? But at some point, I kind of shifted it. And then, might as well, I was already doing that. I thought, why don't I make this into my own business? So that's how I created Foreign Connect. Um, and then because at some point we decided to go into a different direction with the previous company, and then so I converted it into Foreign Connect. That's the current organization I have. And then basically, even after that time, I would come, I mean, many times actually, after you're shifting to, you being the ultimate responsible person for everything you do, like there has been so much more mental gravity or just adversities that I had to just, strive through. So basically, I decided to develop my own mental guide for that, to fight against it even moving forward. And then once again, I wanted to name it as the Game of Self Domination, because it always comes down to here. It always comes down to your own mind. So, I just, me being this position, I just can't not let anything to be my reason to
Yeah.
fail. Like, I always want to hold myself accountable. I don't like excuses. I don't like to blame on someone else. I mean, injustices happen to everyone, and those things can be out of your control. Like, they might happen not due to your own fault, but they might happen because they happen, right? Like, because shit happens.
Right.
But you have to, if you're a leader, you have to keep going. And I'm the person, like the first person who would say that to you, because I had to have that mentality for me to keep striving in all the shit I had to deal with, right? So basically, that's why I came up with the book, and then that's the overall quick snapshot of my journey.
Nice. And I love the title of the book. I think the title of the book really kind of explains the book, right? Just the title
Mm-hmm.
alone, you kind of get an understanding for what you're getting into before you even
Mm-hmm.
start reading the book. Just the title alone is it's a wonderful name. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so let me ask you, you mentioned that the importance of, helping others maybe through business or through like having other goals outside of just monetary value. Can
Mm-hmm.
you emphasize the importance of that? um
Yeah. So one of the thing I use, actually, this is a method or the framework that I use to explain this concept in my book, is, have you heard of this Japanese philosophy concept of ikigai? Have you heard of the term ikigai?
no.
So ikigai is a concept, Japanese philosophical concept that we use.
Uh-huh.
And then they have this pot, well, I guess circle, right? Like four different circle explaining like what ikigai is. Ikigai exists in the future, in the center. And then, you have the job you're good at, you have the job you can be paid for, you have the job that you see as a mission, you have the job you see it as your passion. And then so each different, circle kind of explains its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have the ikigai at the center. So what it comes down to, that is the way I recommend or explain the difference between, monetary motivation versus, true passion, pure mission, is that I actually recommend diversification. Because I mean, it when it comes to business, like, it makes sense if you look at your investment portfolio. You don't necessarily pull all your asset into one bucket, but
Right.
instead would want to diversify to decrease the risks, right? So the way I described it was, so you have your job or whatever that you can get paid for, and then you have the job that you're good at, and then that doesn't necessarily have to be your passion, meet your passion or mission, but you can still have that as sort of like a stable income stream.
Right.
But in the same time, you can have your passion project or passion job, whatever it is, that you keep pursuing. Because once again, the theme that we live is success. Like, success is not the one destination, but success is a global concept. and the theme that we live for. So, that being said, we always want to have the inspiration we wake up to, something that excites us. And it doesn't have to finance you at all. Like, I mean, at some point, it'll be nice if you can kind of manage the monetary side of that, attached to how much value you create with your mission and passion. But in terms of, different time stages, you can also have your stable whatever that's just gonna pay for you, and then that's something that you can do, you're good at doing, but without necessarily having the personal attachment to it. But you can just like do it for money. Like you can have that. In the same time, you can pursue something on the side that, or actually not, that's not on the side, but something equally important,
Mm-hmm.
um, that serves for your purpose. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You talk about the three layers of mental transformations for success. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah. So I would say this is a mental transformation I describe to, I guess, navigate through the changes. That's probably more properly phrasing. And then, success, once again, success is not the one step destination, but it's rather the inspiration you live for, something that excites you. So, like changes will unlock possibilities, right? Like changes unlocks the opportunities. The more fear, I guess, the more changes you face, which always comes with the fear, the better you become with the risks and rejections and any potential harm. But on the opposite side of that is your growth. The opposite side of that is a more opportunity. Like you're more capable handling even the amount of success you can gain, right? So that being said, being able to navigate through the changes is very important. So that's why I wrote about the three phases of mental transformation. And then the first phase I talk about how to create momentum and decisiveness in life, commitment in life. And then that comes with having a little bit of, I wouldn't say a little bit, but having desperation and inspiration at the same time. So desperation is something you have when you feel like you're such a loser, when you feel like, you're so disgusted about your life, you're so disappointed about where you are right now. And then inspiration, you need to have that disgusted feeling that you say enough is enough, right? Like I gotta fucking do something. And then so that element, you need to have that sort of like a revenge element, right? Because that's gonna make you stronger. And then at the same time, you need to be able to see that whatever you're dreaming of right now is possible to happen. Like from your soul, from your body, from your brain, like everything needs to align to the point that it is possible. And it is. So you need to believe that. So that's the first transformation phase I talk about. And then to move to second transformation, I start talking about the importance of self-awareness, the importance of creating perseverance, which requires you to have multiple things. And then some example would be having clear vision, having certainty, and certainty is a choice. You can create that. And also having the ability to see the narrative and choose the story that's going to push you during the hard times. And then also come back to the first one I said, the self-awareness is very, very important, because you cannot pretend to be something or pretend to want to have something, but that's not going to last you like long enough to succeed, because at the end you're not going to care. Like, so in this topic, the self-awareness, the importance of self-awareness, I like, without all the bullshit and without all, skipping all that BS, we really get down to what do you want, right? Like, you don't have to care about anyone, other people's other people's life have nothing to do with yours, right? Like you need to find your own truth.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna help you to find that with the importance of self-awareness. And then it comes to, once again, the importance of, shifting your narrative around the failure. And then I think finally transforming into the third phase, actually, I start talking about what is the purpose of life, what is happiness and success in life, not in an overused way, I want to say. But to transition to that, I also talk about like, what does it mean to be inspirational person? And once again, it comes back to the topic of being independent versus being interdependent. And then if good thing happen or bad thing happen, it's never about you. Like we're trapped in this body of this individual person, this tiny body in this universe. We tend to look at events and everything, and then we interpret according to us. But if you notice that we are part of the bigger system, if good thing happen or bad thing happen, it's never about you. So when you have that recognition, you really have this courage to gain the sense of peace, and then really have this ability to, I guess, gain the courage to see the life a little bit less serious than you're looking at it right now. And
Mhm.
that's okay. Like that's the way it should be.
Right.
So that kind of summarizes the whole thing.
So, I mean, it's really a psychological and philosophy like point of view.
Mhm.
There's some spiritual aspects to it too, right? Um,
Yeah, I think it probably most the spiritual part of it is, so for example, I talk about happiness as a term to describe your ability to meet your true self. So I forgot if you mentioned, but there's this quote that I used, right, from the Greek philosopher.
mm,
He says, happiness is happiness is virtue activities of the soul. So meaning that your true happiness can be only recognized when you decide to be who you are. And that's not necessarily decide to be who you are, but I'm talking about like at the really like true sense and at the very core level,
mm.
like when you decide that what you want is what you want, and you're willing to get it, you're willing to take the rejections, you're willing to take the hardships, you're willing to overcome the adversities in the direction you want to grow. That's that that makes you to meet your true potential, that makes you to meet your true self, and that's happiness. And I really really resonate with that. And also another portion of it is we are bigger part of the system. Like, once again, like we tend to be trapped in the thinking of this like individual body, but we are really just a part of the universe. We're really part of the bigger system.
And we're connected,
And
right? We're all connected.
yeah, so in that, like, I think in that thinking really allows us to um, like connect with our spirituality in a more true sense.
Mhm.
And then, like, aside from like skipping all that fear of being wrong, being judged, being, like, yeah, wrong, right? Like we can skip all that, because in the end, like, we're all here, we all want the same thing. And then we're just connected to each other, one another. And then the true happiness is only realized when you are like spiritually and truly connected within yourself.
And when this all takes place, and you have this like type of balance spiritually, mentally, psychologically, and you have this um, philosophical view, does it how important is that to maintaining and running a business and to growing a business? I mean, obviously it's important because you're teaching these aspects and these principles, but what are some of the differences maybe if you're not doing those type of things?
Yeah. So I think in terms of business, I think the most important thing is the emotional intelligence part. I mean, there's a big portion of the business, business that's directly connected to how you manage your mind. Like it's never about managing your time. It's never about managing your, you know, resources, whatever you have. It's always about managing your mind because, you know, mind has an unlimited potential, and however you decide to navigate it, you're going to get the results from it, from the input you put in, from the mind. So that being said, yeah, mind is very strong driver of whatever the business you have. And I guess the reason I mentioned the emotional intelligence is because, you know, in business, basically this ability to be realist and practitioner while being uncomfortable is possibly the best skill you can have as a business owner or the leader. Because once again, it's never about you. Like if something happened in the market, if some, you know, your customer is mad, whatever happened to you, bad thing or good thing in your business, it's never about you. And when you understand that, you understand how to create your action detached from your emotion, so you can navigate through the situation with very high sense of emotional intelligence. So in that part, I see the connection.
That makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about, and I think this all kind of goes in line with confidence building, but can you talk about like some of the things that you're doing to help these business owners and these entrepreneurs like with confidence building? uh, some of the things, some of the strategies you use.
Yeah. So just to kind of like give you clear idea, I actually put this in my book, but I don't necessarily coach this topic to people right now, but it is available on my book. Um, and the confidence, something I talk about in my book is that confidence is something that you can decide to have, but there are some mechanical things you can do. Confidence also comes from the actual results you're getting, and that is why actually this is a very interesting timing you brought this question, because I talk about this methodology that I developed, predicated on the 5 different ideas. The first one comes from British, sorry, the first one comes from Italian engineer. The second one comes from British economist. The third one comes from a McKinsey, the corporate strategy. And then the fourth one comes from uh, Toyota, the lean manufacturing, the Japanese company, right? And then the fifth one comes from the 34th US president, the matrix he was using to organize his day. And then basically what I did there was I developed this scoring system, and basically people can be very organized, like visually very organized about what's most important to them in at that point. And then this framework really helps you to be organized in your life. Even I see it as, so the point of me making this is that I wanted to really show people that it is very important that you're organized within yourself, within your way of communicating to yourself and then to outside the world. And then the more lean, the more organized you are, the more effective and efficient you are. And then as a result, you theoretically you will see more results coming out of it, right? So to your point, I basically made this matrix that I use every day available for other people to use to have more efficient, more effective execution plan to whatever they're doing. And then and this way they can have a result faster. And then that's going to become their confidence.
So this book, it sounds like it's not just for business owners and entrepreneurs. It sounds like it's for everybody, and it can be applied in pretty much any aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. That's a beautiful thing. What did you? What other things what did you study in college? Do you come from, like, a psychological background? Do you,
No,
just
actually, I studied once again econ and business very
Uh-huh,
heavily.
uh-huh.
But it makes it very interesting mix because I think subconsciously or just by nature, I have the brain of like philosopher a little bit.
Yeah,
Like I like philosophy and I like psychology as well. I'm very good at observing people. But it made a really interesting mix because when I look at business strategies or economic strategy, I kind of see the impact of that in people instead of impact of that in business. So that's why I was able to show these strategies and then make it into life strategy so
mhm.
that people can use it.
Interesting, and I think it's an important aspect of business that maybe sometimes is overlooked.
Mm.
Uh, Very interesting. You talk a little bit about, um, meeting the identity circle, and it's based on Greek philosopher. Can you touch a little more on that?
Yeah. So we um, we kind of visited earlier a little bit about what it is. So, but then the identity circle, this is another framework I developed from the idea from the ancient Greek philosopher. And then once again, his quote was, "The happiness is virtue activities of the soul." So, meaning that um, the adversities or hard things that comes against your life is not an enemy of your life at all. Like it's not the hardship that suffers you. Hardships is here to grow you. And when you're able to shift that perception um, of hardships, like you cannot not adore your hardships. Like you cannot not love the feeling of failure, like the feeling of being challenged, right? But in order for you to do that, you have to own it. You have to be in a position to be able to own it. And then in order for you to do that, you really need to know who you are about, what you're about, what your value is about. Like, and then these are the things that um, makes your belief stronger of like what you want, so you can take it, you're willing to take the hits that's going to come to you in the journey or in the way of you growing into the direction you want to grow into, right? So that's why I came up with this framework of this identity circle where I show you who you're about, what you like to do, what you believe, and then basically meeting to this one point of a circle. This is who you are.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's about it.
Gotcha. So watching some of your videos on Life Up TV, I noticed that there's a lot of good things that's being said about the work that you're doing. And
Mhm.
can you share maybe some of the examples of some things that you've done for businesses or CEOs? Like some real world examples, maybe without giving away too many details, but just can you share some of that?
Yeah, well, really, like my intention was never really to be a coach or anything like that, but it kind of like happened by more natural manner. So basically I'm like this all the time, and then whenever I have like some hardships hit me, like you know it's not like I don't get disappointed or I don't get discouraged, but I'm always back in my computer like working, right, like in a matter of hour. And then so I always had that like toughness and then strengths in my mind. And people around me start like knowing that basically whenever they had their business problems or whenever they had the life problems, they kind of started coming to me. But it was just like a me being a good friend to them. But eventually it kind of like got involved to the
Mm,
point where people are kind of like referring me to people. And then that's how it kind of what happened was like, I was just being there, be a good friend. And then fortunately people found it very helpful. And then I gave them energy and all that. So yeah. basically from there, like people started coming to me.
Interesting. What drives you? What do you think it is that inspires you or keeps pushing you to progress and to do this kind of work?
Possibility of humanity. I think I'm a loving person. And then the definition of love, I define love as this, as following. I think love is your genuine caring. The love is your willingness. And so that's why when you say you have your self-love, that means that when everyone else in this world gives up on you, you're not going to give up on yourself. And you know it. I'm not going to give up on myself. And that takes courage for you to say that. Like, even if my parents give up on me, even if like anyone, bring me anyone, even if they give up on me, I'm not going to give up on myself. And that's a true self-love. Like, I love myself so much that I'm not willing. I am willing to take any hit, any shit, any hardship. The last thing I do is to give up on myself, right? And then that applies to everything else. Like, I have the same concept in my dream. I have the same concept to my community. I have the same concept to people close to me. You know, like, I'm a loving person and I like to provide love in that sense. I never want to be neutral. I never want to be like the cool kid, like a cool person who's gonna just assume, oh, like, you know, that's not gonna work. Like, you look stupid. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. Like, I'm
Right.
gonna be always caring person who wants to give love and who wants to show the world that whatever we dream of is possible. And I truly believe that it is. Like, we have done so many beautiful, incredible things as a humanity, and that inspires me. I want to show that to everyone, and I want people to be more loving to themselves, more loving to the things around them. That
Th-
inspires me.
That's wonderful. What are some of your future plans then for like your business and what you want to do? What are some of the things that you want to do?
Well, honestly, I'm very much still. Sorry, did I get you? Okay.
Good.
um, no, I mean, my goal is definitely growing the Life Up Education TV. I'm from I'm interacting and collaborating with a lot of other creators right now. But yeah, that's my next big thing. And you know, like, the thing is, I'm a big believer of having a patient. I'm not here for the short sprint. I'm here for a long-term marathon. Like, I'm here for the long time. So, you know, before I even start thinking about next thing, I wanna, like, care for it. I wanna pour all the love I have to the thing that's in front of me, you know. So this is a big deal for me. So I'm gonna probably spend some time still to fully focus on growing Life Up Education TV.
Just stay in the moment. You're staying in the
Yeah.
moment. Nice.
Mhm.
Can you just real quick to wrap this up, just touch a little bit more on your book? You know, what can people find in your book that can maybe inspire them or help them? You know, what can they look for, or you know, what are some reasons to really to buy your book?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of reason, but to, you know, basically mention about, once again, the name of the book, The Game of Self Domination. When it all comes down to your mind, it all comes down to your willingness. You don't have to show off by, you know, how much expensive stuff you have, how beautiful your girlfriend is or boyfriend is, whatever. Like, you never you don't have to show off, but only thing you can show off and then outwork all the competitor is your willingness. And in order for you to do that, you really need to have that right angle to look at failure. You need to be mentally stronger, and once again, that's going to take a lot of courage. And I mean, once again, then I guess it comes back to the self-awareness part, because not everybody wants to do that, right? So basically, to your point, I guess the strongest point of my on my book really comes down to how to shift your thinking around failure, and then make that's gonna help you to be stronger. Um, and I guess at the same time, it'll help you to find what you really want, and then care a little bit less about what other people think. and self-domination. So, it all comes down here.
That's excellent. So where can we find your book and some of the great work that you're doing? Where can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, so as my name is Natsune Oki. Natsune Oki right here. I mean, are you recording a video or is just audio?
It's both.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah, my name is Natsune Oki right here. It's sorry, yeah. I'm under Life of Education TV. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Um, yeah, that's about it. And I have some podcasts already available on my website as well. So that being said, I have like Anchor and everything else.
Excellent. Well, Nat, today it's been a great show. It's been a wonderful topic. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.